Locating relevant sources in historical research. We have been talking about historical research. We talk about the focus and we talk about the dimensions of historical research and research questions. Now the point is that from where would we take data? How would we provide data to to answer our research question, right? So that is the point where the sources are to be discussed, right? The sources, the historical documents, the historical sources which are to be consulted in order to answer your research questions. As we know that the nature of historical research is different than other kinds of research, right? So for that purpose, we must know that how can we access sources which are required from historical events in order to address our research questions, right? So the sources of historical data or evidences, we have two major categories, two major kinds, right? Documents and remains, relics. Okay, so the documents which are to be consulted for your historical research are like the official records, right? The offices which were the government offices, right? So the government offices and their record, right? Then like the archives, the government archives, the offices which are maintaining archives. So you can explore and take data from them. Then the institutional records. The institutional records are basically those records which are the part of the institutes, like the attendance register of teachers, like the roll call of the students, the diaries of the students, the timetables, if it is an educational kind of research, then the timetables and the papers. So those are the documents which are maintained by institutions, all right? So that could also be consulted. Then personal documents are like memoirs, diaries, personal letters, personal events. Okay, so these are the documents which are to answer your research questions. And then newspapers, periodicals, journals, these are the sources which could answer your research questions. And then literary material, right? So the literary material can also be the part of your sources to answer your research questions. And then catalogs of libraries and catalogs of other organizations, and the syllabi of a government, particularly when it's an educational kind of research, you can just go and see the syllabi in prospectus, right? So these are the documents which could be consulted. Starting with the government documents, like the government policies are always written, constitution, policies, TORs, MOUs, right? So these are the kind of documents which could provide you with the required insight for answering your research questions in historical research. And then we have another kind of sources, the remains and the relics of your history, which could assist you, which could help you while addressing your research questions. So these are like buildings, furnitures, equipments, and within buildings like the structures, the maps, and the historical, the civilization-based information, which could be the offices-based observation, the buildings-based observations. Then the library and their furniture, they could be the part of your historical event. Okay, historical researches, the photographs, the images, and other records of remains, that could be the part of your data. And then forms of degrees, diplomas, certificates, records, and registers, they could be the part of your remains, sources based on remains. And then textbooks, exercise books, maps, and drawings, these are the part of your your sources, written material of any kind. So you could answer your research questions within historical research with the help of these documents, and you can explore them. And this could be like the kind of primary sources, and you can also use the secondary sources in order to provide answers to your research questions while using the features of historical research.